All right, hey buddy. As you can see, I'm working from home too. Got my Lego football field that G3 brought in earlier. So anyway, I wanted to show you just a couple spreadsheets to kind of elaborate on my post the other night about simple math. And I'm going to start with one that I kind of used as an example, or the same concept as an example. And then you asked about, well, what if you're putting in consistent contributions. So let me share my screen real quick. So hopefully you can see this. This is a spreadsheet. This is using the S&P 500 yearly returns from 2000 through 2018. Now, granted, I realize it doesn't have 2019 in there, and of course it doesn't have 2020 in there, but the purpose of this has nothing to do with what the actual returns were. The purpose is to show that if I take an average of past returns and I use that average percentage and I project somebody's money, what it will do going forward, in my opinion, and we'll let you be your own judge here, I believe that that is not mathematically acceptable, and I think it's kind of smoke and mirrors. So in this first one, again, these are the actual returns of the S&P 500 during this period of time. Again, irrelevant to the conversation on what it returned, but except for these are the actual returns. That was at 4.37% average during this period of time. If somebody had $100,000 and they got these exact returns for this period of time, they would have 170,000 at the end. That's with no more contributions going in. So over here, what I did is I did what a lot of financial advisors do, and I really hate seeing this, is they take this past average of 4.37%, and then they say, okay, going forward for the next 18 years, if you get 4.37%, this is what your money will do. So if you had $100,000 and it got exactly 4.37% every single year, you would have ended up with $225,000. So as you can see, an average rate of return that had volatility in the past, projecting it going forward is just, in my opinion, not ethically okay. And it's common practice, and I am on a mission to fight this. So to your point, I believe if I understood you right, you said, well, what, that makes sense, but what if I'm contributing annually instead of just looking at a lump sum? So I just made another spreadsheet. I suppose you'll have to just trust me that the spreadsheet I made, that I've made here are correct. You can make your own, or anybody can make one, or I can send you these spreadsheets and you can see if the calculation cells are what I'm saying. But I think I did them right. But and actually, I know I did them right because this is what I do for a living. But a lot of times people want to check that. So what I did here is I took a similar idea. Let me see if I can zoom in just a tad. I think, let's see here. This is going to be too big. It's going to be too big. Let me undo that zoom. Okay. So hopefully you can see this. I'm going to move this over a little bit. Just make it full screen. Here we go. Hopefully you can see this. So come on now. There we go. All right. So here's what I did over here. So on this first column, I just took a 5% average every single year. So 5% fixed return. So if I'm putting $10,000 a year for 20 years into something that just gets 5% every year, and like you said in your post, simplicity, for simplicity, we're just doing 5% at the end of every single year instead of monthly compounded or whatever. But 5% every single year on the input and the growth would be $347,000 at the end of 20 years. Okay, so that's cool. Now over here, this is also an average of 5%, but what I did is I put in 10% in year one, 5% in year two. So negative 5% in year two. So 10% in 5.1, negative 5% in year 2. So that's an average of 5%. And then I just rotated that. So volatility up and down. So up 10%, down 5%, up 10%, down 5%, right? And it's the same thing, still an average of 5%, just like this is an average of 5%. But at the end of 20 years, I have $246,000. So there's $100,000 less dollars here than there is over here if I'm using a flat rate of return. So what this tells us is that ups are great. We all love ups in the market, okay? There's not a person that wouldn't be happy to get growth with their money every year. But the problem is when that growth happens in addition to negatives, up and down, up and down, and I use that past average to project somebody's average going forward, I'm just not being truthful. So that's why we don't do it at Duval Financial Group. And everything we do has nothing but growth or flat. So in the last few months, our clients have, if anything, grown, lost nothing. That's a worst case scenario. Our clients have lost zero. And then when the market starts going back up, they don't have to wait for it to get back to that point. As soon as the market starts going back up, their money starts going back up. Now, that may be a little complicated to explain just in a quick Zoom video, but I wanted you to see a true side-by-side comparison of what I had posted in the Simple Math post, as well as what you questioned or asked me about. What if I'm doing contributions? And you kind of stumped me there, because I thought, that's a good question, because I usually use a simple lump sum because we're in the capital preservation business. And I wanted to see what it would look like if we're doing consistent contributions. So hope that helps, buddy. And check my math. If any of it's wrong, I'm down. I'm an open book, and I'm always learning. And sometimes I mess up on Excel spreadsheets. Hope that helps. Have a great one.